Hello everybody. In today's video I'm going to be showing off as well as talking a little bit about this bow right here. Now this bow is a bow that I've made in the style of the sort of traditional, really old style of Sirayan / Taiwan hunting bows. In the Sirayan language this kind of archery is called Pana. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about the historical context, some of the usage and stuff, as well as what sets it apart from other bows. Alright, so firstly a little bit about the bow itself. We've got it strung up already right here. So as you can see, it's actually a pretty flat and pretty short bow. It's at most maybe 1.25 meters or so. But there's no real set length to these traditional hunting styles of bows. They're mainly based upon where each of the nodes are placed. They're generally fairly short as to make them still pretty strong, or strong enough rather, for hunting, but really they're just based upon where each of the nodes is placed. So there's one right here at the top nock, and then there's also one right here at the largest part of the flare on this bottom nock. Well, not really nock, that's another thing. So this top part, as you can see, there is a real nock. The shape of it, there's sort of from the middle there's a taper to each of the ends, and on this end it flares out a little bit and then cut in for a bit of a nock. But on this end you got the same taper, but then it flares out into sort of this diamond shape, and then tapers back into a little bit of a point there. And so there's no actual edge right there. The string is sort of held just by being too small to go around that diamond. So now the reason that this bow is so short and so light is that actually the way that the Sirayan, Taiwan, as well as some other plains tribes used to hunt was back in the day. They used to have these very large herds of the Formosan sika deer running around the plains, and so rather than being able to hide around the grasses and stuff, as there's not really that many places to hide, you'd pretty much just have to run while shooting arrows and throwing spears at them. So that brings us on to the next part of our set, the arrows. One thing I'd like to first off mention is these tips right here. They are actually just nails stuck into the end. Now this is not a traditional hunting tip. The traditional hunting tip that's most like this is made for flying squirrels, which is pretty much a cone of metal that you'd put on top of the bamboo. But then the other ones that would be made for hunting deer and stuff like that, large game, they still have that sort of cone shape that's hollow inside to put onto the end, but they end in a arrowhead. So anyways, moving on, as you can see, one important detail here, for indigenous Taiwanese arrows, or at least for most of them, they are not fletched. Not many of the tribes actually utilize fletchings. I'm not entirely sure why, but they're still, surprisingly, actually, you're still able to get a surprising amount of accuracy with them, even without the fletching. And another thing you might have noticed is there are no nocks on these arrows. And this is another thing seen fairly commonly with really traditional hunting arrows and all of that. Lots of artifacts I've looked online about have actually no nocks, and some people actually still use this type of shooting with nockless arrows, no fletchings, and old hunting tips. So now before we get on to shooting anything, I'd like to show you how I actually carry the arrows and load them. So what I've found in a lot of sources is that many indigenous Taiwanese, including the Sirayan and Taiwan, they do actually use quivers. But when you're actually out in the field running with arrows, having to grab them out of a quiver is fairly ineffective and inconvenient. So I figured that a lot of tribes still, such as the Sit, hold arrows in the bow hand, and they draw it from here. But I've actually figured out my own sort of method of doing this a little bit quicker. I can just reach through the bow, grab it, bring it back, and push it forward. So then I don't need to move my hand to the other side of the bow. So if I do it quickly, I can do it just like this, and it's a pretty quick load. Okay, so one thing I'd like to note about the grip here is we're not actually going to be using the usual Mediterranean grip that you see a lot in competition archery, even modern day indigenous style competition archery. We're going to be using pinch grip, which is fairly important when using this sort of knockless arrow, because if you're using something like Mediterranean grip, two-finger grip, or anything of the sort, you're going to actually have the arrow fall off fairly easily. So make sure you've got that pinch grip at all times. Okay, so one more thing before we actually get on to shooting, I'm going to have to talk about how we actually shoot the bow itself. So one thing, first of all, is that when we bring it up, you can see that we're at a slight angle. Now, this is because that if we have it sort of straight like this with a type of bow like this that has no arrow rest or anything, you are likely to occasionally have the arrow fall off like that. It's just sort of a bit more secure when you have it like this. If you like, you can also place your finger over it while you're bringing it up or drawing. But make sure, because there is no rest there, it's a lot harder to shoot with your finger on the arrow. Now, one more thing. So when you're bringing it up like this, and we're actually going to shoot, we're not going to just hold it here and aim for a while. Now, this is a sort of hunting method because when you're out in the when you're sort of out in the plains, you're not going to have so much time to sort of hold it up, aim, and shoot. It's a bit harder to actually run and keep it steady. So what you do is you just draw and shoot right away. Alright, so now that we've learned all of that stuff, we're ready to get into some actual shooting. So I've got our target set down there already, and so let me give you a bit of a demonstration again. So what we first do, I like to draw my arrows from my bow hand, push it forward, and knock it, or lack thereof it. And then remember, when we're shooting, we just draw and shoot instead of drawing and holding it up here. So go like that, aimed a bit high. So we've got more arrows, so we can readjust. And there we go. Alright, so now you're probably wondering why I'm all the way out here. And as you can remember, I missed that first shot on the deer. And so by now, if this were a real hunting scenario, that deer would be running away really fast right now. And like I said before, this sort of style of Sirayan Taiwan hunting is not just standing still in one place, being able to shoot at a standing deer that's not moving at all. And you're rarely ever going to be able to do that in places such as the plains, where the deer is likely going to see you. Now, you might get one shot off while it's not moving, but if you miss that shot, you're up for a run. And that's what we're going to be doing right here. We're going to actually have to run and shoot at it at the same time, as the old people used to do. But this is actually a fairly new experience for me. I've not practiced it too much, and I'm not super good at it, but hopefully I'll be able to share it with you. And I'm going to be doing a lot more practice of this over the course of the summer, and I'll also be sharing some of those experiences with you, hopefully. And so we can share this learning together, I guess. So I'm going to start all the way out here so I can get a nice run. And hopefully I can hit this deer. There we go. Got it in the butt. Now that's not an optimal place to get it, but it's enough to do some damage. Let's say it's still running. We gotta take another shot. So, let's go again. I don't think that'll do much. I got it right in the antlers. Alright, so now we can see the damage here. As you can see, I've definitely not mastered this by now. But let's say that this is about, I think, day 3 of actual practicing this skill. So hopefully I'll be able to get quite a bit better over the course of the summer. I'm going to be doing a lot more. But as you can see, I at least hit the deer both times, once in the butt and once in the antlers. I'm not sure how much damage that second shot would have done, but hopefully we got a deer for dinner. Anyways, that should do it for the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll post more videos on this type of archery stuff within the summer, hopefully. Anyways, again, thanks for watching, and bye. Sorry for the interruption. It's not actually quite the end. I forgot to mention something at the start of the video. It's that I've actually made myself a Mananagi Vato Instagram account to post whatever things that don't really fit into a video easily. Either they're not interesting enough, or I couldn't figure out how to preface the video, how to make the video to make it interesting enough to be on YouTube. So go give that a follow if you'd like. I've got some things on it already, such as just a little bit of showing off of the Sirayan bells I've made, the kili kili, as well as this the making of this Taiwan bracelet right here. So go give that a follow if you'd like. Anyways, now it's the actual end of the video. So thank you for watching again, and bye.